worldwide fans of the planet's hottest entertainment with an edge. I'm Jaime En Fuego, and I welcome you to Enfuegotainment. That's right, my relaunch of new content coverage here in the year of 19. And yes, this is another Fresca Fuego, that's right, a Nuevo Fuego review for something that just recently hit theaters. So last week I did The Kid Who Would Be King, and this film actually came out the same weekend as that title, which I enjoyed the hell out of. I actually gave it 4 big ol' Fuego fireballs. I certified that film Fuego. This film came out the same weekend. It's called Serenity, and definitely not the case with this one. Now, I was very intrigued by Serenity, not just because of the fact that it is the same name as a very awesome Joss Whedon film that, you know, continued the Firefly storyline and stuff, but no, we're not here to talk about browncoats. We are talking about a film starring Matthew McConaughey, Anne Hathaway, but you've also got some Diane Lane in there. I mean, there's a lot of really fresh and capable faces in here, and also being written and directed by Stephen Knight, and he did Hummingbird with Statham, he did Locke with Tom Hardy, if I remember correctly. I believe he was in that, but yeah, he also has done some less than stellar stuff, like the new Fede Alvarez Girl in the Spider's Web, I think is what it was called, but that was the continuation of the Dragon Tattoo Chick stuff. Not a very good movie, but so yeah, this is a British writer slash director with, in my estimation, a pretty solid pedigree. He also did Eastern Promises with Cronenberg that was kick-ass, and so I love the concept of this movie, and for that reason, it got my butt in the seat, and I almost saw this last weekend at the same time that I saw The Kid Who Would Be King. I'm like, hell, I'll just do a British double feature, man. Let's bring this shizzle on. But no, I waited a few days, and so you're getting this on the following Friday. So here on Enfuegotainment, I always do Bueno, Malo, and Feo. So I do good, I do bad, I do ugly, just to sum it up briefly and give my thoughts, and then I give a rating at the end from Feo all the way up to En Fuego. So you've got, yeah, Feo being 1 star, you have Malo being 2 stars, you have Bueno being 3 stars, Fuego being 4, and En Fuego 5, which is a distinction I definitely do not hand out very often. And so, yeah, guys, to talk about the Bueno of this film, I loved the concept of it. It had kind of a noir feel. So you've got McConaughey, and he's on this island called Plymouth, but interestingly enough, they're very vague about where this island is. You've got like foreign plates, so immediately you're kind of thinking, okay, maybe it looks like the Caribbean, at least in my estimation. They mentioned Miami a few times, how one character's kid has gone to pump gas in Miami. So you kind of get the vibe that it's, you know, maybe somewhere in the Caribbean, you know, I don't know. In any event, there's never a real distinction given about that. And the noir feel is notched down even further because of the fact that McConaughey is using a different name, and he's just kind of living as a fisherman on this weird little island, you know, boozing and, you know, banging down some Diane Lane, who still looks like a super babe in my estimation, despite her age. She's aging like a fine wine, very gracefully. And, yeah, so he doesn't seem like he has that bad of a life, but, you know, there is definitely ghosts haunting him and some frustrations and things like that. We find out that he's an Iraq vet, and he has a crumbled marriage and a child that he doesn't see, and that is where our femme fatale, if we're going to follow the noir tropes, steps in, played by his ex-wife, Anne Hathaway. Okay, and in even more cool casting, you've got Jason Clarke as her new husband, who is apparently a big-time boozer and abuser of the beautiful Miss Hathaway, and yet you can kind of tell there's like a weird angle of sorts to what's going down, because she just shows up for the first time in forever and it's like, I want you to take my husband out on a fishing trip and kill him and make it look like an accident, and I will give you a shiz ton of money. So that's what got my butt in the seat, as I said earlier. It was the concept, and it starts out pretty damn good. And performances start out pretty solid. McConaughey is good. Hathaway, while I've seen her do much better, you know, Rachel Getting Married, and honestly, Colossal was where I was like, damn, this girl can really act. She's not just a Princess Diary kind of thing going down. And yeah, I'm excited for her in the Witches remake that they're putting together right now with Zemeckis. But the film, and I will get to this in the Malo, especially once it gets to the twist, and I'm sure that you have seen, if you've read any headlines about this movie, there's a twist about halfway through that kind of shifts the perspective of the storytelling. But, you know, just to wrap up the Bueno, it's a beautiful looking film. It's very slickly directed, and there's a few of these weird, like, quick camera turn things that that Steven Knight does that are actually pretty dope. And I mean, it's a beautiful looking island where they filmed all of this. The ocean is great looking, great cinematography. But I have to shift into the MALO now because there's a lot of bad in this movie, and honestly the bad is where we go from the noir feel that I was loving so much to, without giving away what the twist is, the twist sucks in this movie, and it's absolutely infuriatingly aggravating without spoiling anything. And I guess maybe I'll just make the Feo in this be the spoiler, and you know, I will take you to, because honestly the bad part of the twist is the ugliness of this movie. But yeah, to further delve into the MALO and the bad stuff about this film, it's not just the twist, it's also that once the twist transpires and our lead McConaughey is coming to grips with the twist, his acting gets to be borderline silly, in my opinion. He's overacting, he's overdoing it. Hathaway as well. And Jason Clarke, I really, really enjoy him as an actor, and I'm stoked about him in the Pet Sematary remake as Dr. Creed, but y'all, he's just not very good in this. He feels very much like he's going through the motions. And I mean, I was just watching First Man the other day with him in it, and he's very solid in that, great in Zero Dark 30. I mean, I even didn't think he was that bad of a John Connor, but yeah, he doesn't really bring much to the table in this. And also, I was disappointed with the amount of screen time. God, I wish I had double-checked on the actor's name. But he was in Amistad. He's been in a ton of great films. African guy. Does a badass job in pretty much everything, except he didn't really have much to chew on in this, which was kind of a bummer. Diane Lane is good enough. But really, the worst part about this movie is how certain acting gets amped up to a borderline silly degree once that twist comes into play. And so, since this movie just ended up bugging and really just kind of just getting me mad by the end of it, we're gonna go into Feo, we're gonna go into ugly territory, and the Feo can sometimes be a good thing or be a bad thing in the way that I approach my film reviews, but in this case it's definitely a bad thing, and I don't always spoil in the ugly either, but in this case I have to. So yeah, you can just fast forward a few minutes or just say peace out Fuego, I'm leaving right now. But the ugly is that, so Hathaway's character, she tells McConaughey that you have a mental connection with your son, and you know, he can hear you talking to him and stuff like that, and you're like, what, are they going otherworldly with this? Like, this is just a noir thriller, you know, like what the hell is going down here? And the twist apparently is that, so they lay out that this kid, first of all, the stepfather Jason Clarke does not like him. He's like, hey, he's a sissy, he doesn't want to go throw the football, you know, he sits in front of the computer all damn day, blah, blah, blah. And lo and behold, we find out that what he has been doing sitting in front of the computer all day is building a virtual world, and apparently McConaughey's character died in Iraq, and he is living in a video game. I'm not even joking. The entire movie is a video game. I was like, what in the goddamn dumbest plot twists? And I'm sure since Steven Knight wrote this too, he's like, yeah, this is a great twist. Peeps are going to love it. It's so sharp and, you know, different of me. This is one of the worst and stupidest twists in a movie. It really, in my estimation, takes all of the validity and the relevance and the dramatic heft out of what's really going on. These are all virtual video game characters in this computer simulation, whatever, that he has put together. And there's this twist with this guy with a fishing company where they make like sonar fish detectors and lures and stuff, and like they kept it vague enough at one point where I was really hoping that, you know, there's a couple points in the third act where McConaughey's character has this game revelation made to him by this character that works for this, you know, fish reel and whatever company and stuff. And they keep it vague enough where you as the viewer, you're starting to wonder, you're like, okay, is he just PTSD? Has he just been drinking too much rum on this island? Is that why everything seems so strange and noir-y and vague and whatever? but they end up just spelling it out for you at the end. Nope, it is in fact a game. It's all of the child's imagination, and the child, the end game of McConaughey's character is he's pursuing this elusive white whale, which turns out to be this huge tuna fish that he's been trying to catch that's off the coast of this island that he's been fishing for God knows how long. He can't even remember how long because he's just a fictional character and stuff. And yeah, the end game is McConaughey's gonna catch the fish at the same time that this kid decides to stab and murder the abusive stepfather of his mom. And this movie pissed me off, guys. This movie pissed me off. So, as opposed to ranting and raving like an angry Joe or whatever, I am just gonna say that my ranking for this film, I'm not gonna go as far as saying it's a fail, it's a one fireball film, but it definitely gets a 2 out of 5 from me. This is a MALO film. This is a bad movie. It's not an ugly bad movie because, you know, the first like third of it is not bad. I like when they're setting all the pieces in play. I love noir films, and it's when this turned into something stupid and different that all of the problems really kind of floated to the surface. That's a good analogy to use here. So that is my thoughts. 2 out of 5. Serenity. It's a bad movie. It is definitely MALO. So I have been Jaime En Fuego. I hope that this insight helps you to avoid this film in theaters. I don't know, maybe if it shows up on a streaming service in the future, you would sit down and find some merit in it. Maybe you will like the twist. Hell if I know. So, in any event, I've been Jaime En Fuego, and you can find me on all social media sectors like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and the YouTubies, which is where you are right now watching this. I greatly appreciate if you do the like and hit the subscribe button so you get more reviews from me. I'm also going to be doing more Enfuegotainment Live, where I'm going to be discussing news stories. I did 3 of them at the beginning of the year in January. One was my favorite films of 2018, one was my most anticipated films of 2019, and then the third was my reactions to the Oscars. The Oscars are on February 24th, which is actually when I'm going to be in Charlotte covering the Mad Monster Charlotte Horror Convention with the Horror Show, which is where I do the predominance of my YouTubing. YouTube.com/The Horror Show channel. I do a program on there called Hail to Stephen King that is very near and dear to my heart, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention the Horror Show, where you can see more of me and so on and so forth. So I guess, yeah, until the Wheel of Ka comes around once more, haha, for all you King fans, hasta luego, cinemigos. I hope that we get to reconnect sooner rather than later, and yeah, until then, peace out, y'all.